to get enough out of the way that I can say something that strikes a chord in your awareness of truth, and you guys will hear something that is meaningful for you today. I have been charged with speaking on the law of not contribution, retribution is marked in, but what was it? Economics. Supply and demand. I think it's a good one to follow Mark's section because, as he referenced, we often think of the law of contribution and, as like Lily spoke of it, recontribution or recompensation as being tied to you reap what you sow. And this is a very true, powerful natural law that we can see in our lives very easily. And sometimes I think we can get a little tricky with that. And when we come across a situation, blame ourselves for something that we find uncomfortable. Like we have, a lot of people throw the word karma around as though it's limited to this lifetime or just one action that we made. And I think that to make that a little bit broader, we speak also of supply and demand. And I'd like to start this lecture by telling the story of Lord Hanuman. He is from the sacred Hindu text. So for those of you who really prize the Hindu scripture and sacred text, forgive me for my paraphrase, but Lord Hanuman was a man who is said to be half monkey and half man. One of his claims to fame was when he found himself on the battlefield with his Lord, who represented good, and another who represented evil. And, the good Lord had a brother who was wounded during battle with an arrow that had been enchanted. And so anyone who was struck by this arrow would die by sunrise of that, next day. So, and Lord Hanuman, when this brother was struck and fell ill, just knew that if this man were to die, his good Lord would be so stressed out he wouldn't be able to focus on this battle. And this was a battle of good versus evil. It was important, not just to this man, not just to Hanuman, but to the whole community and many generations to come. And so he ran to the medicine man and the shaman of the village. What can I do to help this man? What's the cure for this enchantment? And it was a single herb that is found only on the top of one of the peaks of the Himalayas. And this battle was taking place in Sri Lanka. So, Lord Hanuman puffs himself up and makes himself really as big as he can and leaps with his monkey legs all across India, all the way to the Himalayas, all the way to the top, without any second thought, looking for this herb. And when he gets there, he finds the spot that the medicine man told him about and realizes he was in such a hurry, he forgot to ask what it looked like. He had no clue which herb it was. And while he's up there, he sees that the Lord of Evil has enchanted the sun to fall before the end of the day, before it was supposed to. And so all of this is happening. The battle's happening, the sun is falling, he doesn't know which herb, and if he runs back, it's going to be too late. And if he stays there, the war is lost and evil wins. And so Hanuman, wanting to save as much as he can, cuts the top of the mountain off and puts it on his shoulders and carries it all the way back across India, back to Sri Lanka, plants it on the ground, the medicine man gets the herb, delivers the medicine, the brother lives, and they win the battle. And this is the story that's revealed in Hindu culture to describe a lot of what Mark was speaking to, this ability to, reap what you sow, to think of yourself as a servant to everyone in all places and to do whatever it is that you can. But in addition to that, there's, a twist to that story. There's another level to that in its natural law that I wanted to share about my own experience. Recently, many of you who I adore know that I went on a trip to get some training, to meet these people I'd never met before. And on the way, I got in a car accident, and this woman named Catherine, I called her, I'm on my way to her house where she's hosting a course, and I've never shook her hand, I've only spoken to her on the phone, but always she's been very generous with me. I think, I'm not sure we're going to make it. We just got in a car accident, they're telling me my car is totaled, We called the tow truck, we're still here an hour later, no cops, we don't know what to do. So she gets in her car, and she drives 2 hours to pick up me and my friend. We're strangers at this point, we've never met. And then she takes us back to her home, she makes us dinner in the middle of the night, she bathes us, puts us in her jacuzzi. And I was beside myself. How could you not, just weep tears of joy? Like, are these people real? Like, who really exists like that? Nobody, everybody says, you replay so, and you get what but we don't, I don't know how many of us really do. Like, how many of you would go pick up a stranger in the middle of the night, 2 hours away, and then put them in your home, feed them your food, and bathe them, and then get them all blissed out in the jacuzzi in the middle of the night under the stars? Like, I was, obviously very tearful and overjoyed and feeling well with tears. And she looked at me and said, Brianna, don't take it so personally. Who are you to even decide whether you're the one who's really receiving right now? How did you put the story really home up? I'm like, well, what does that have to do with any of this? And she's like, I take this practice seriously. I practice yoga. It is my diet, my exercise, my meditation. It's my life practice. And in my spiritual journey, I need to know about myself. That I am willing to remove mountains for friends of friends. Because that's what we do when we're loving people. I need to know about myself that if given the opportunity to rescue a stranger in the middle of the night, I would do it, and I do it. And you have just presented me with the opportunity to prove that to myself in my spiritual practice. I am that person. That's what happened tonight. And there's no more powerful gift. It still makes me emotional. What a beautiful sentiment. And that is when we start looking at the law of supply and demand. And we, in economics talk about the more that we give away, the less valuable the supply is. And these things, can only be balanced when we are in a stream. When we look at it and we find ourselves maybe giving too much, finding ourselves feeling like we are the supply for everyone else's demand. Or maybe we're feeling bad about being the car wreck on the side of the road in the middle of the night out of state. And now we're, stressed about being the one who has to receive. It's like we are the only ones who decide whether any of that is good or bad. When we really look at the law of supply and demand, it flows on a continuous spectrum, where supply is demand and demand is supply. For Catherine, I was a supply of her inspiration to pull her best parts to the surface. And for me, she was a supply of proof that you reap what you sow, the law of love, the law of attraction for experiences that you need in your soul's journey really will surface. That proof that we really are loving people who give something that we don't even know we have, is real. And that's what the law of supply and demand speaks to. It speaks to the reality that when we are in those places where we feel like we have to manifest something, we aren't going to have gas to be shut off, or there are hungry, starving people in the world, and when we look at things like that, we have to be careful with ourselves. White Lily teaches at night about how we are the only ones who judge what's good or bad. There's no central, focal place of God that sits in the throne of judgment and decides that this car crash is bad, so you must have done terrible things, and now you are really a horror of that. Or you must be an amazing person because some stranger just picked you up in the middle of the night, so this is wonderful, you've been a really good girl. That's not a reality. The reality is that this car crash led to this rescue, and all of that was connected to a loving experience when you open yourself up to see the larger picture of it. When you allow yourself to expand a little bit more like Hanuman and put on your monkey legs and just jump across it and just go toward what you know is the right, loving, healing thing. That's what we go towards in this law of supply and demand. We see this all the time. When we were learning about this in class, I remember the night before we talked about it, I saw an episode, or it was a documentary about Haiti. Most of you remember, I hope, 2010. There was a devastating earthquake. She crumbled it to the ground. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, the oldest woman in the world survived. She was 114 years old when it happened. And she was just, right after that, she was 115. I think she lived to be 117 years old. Now, her entire neighborhood was covered in rubble. Her house crumbled all around her. Her community, her neighbors, her entire country was ripped and rent to shreds. And this woman, old as she was, lived to tell the story on the documentary about how she survived this devastating tragedy. And do you know that when these contractors come in to literally remove mountains, to literally shovel a path into her village to provide, health care and food and comfort to these people who are now homeless and completely wrecked, they aren't doing her a favor. I mean, how many of you would argue that the oldest woman in the world survived not through spirit intervention? That was obviously, some protector, angel, guardian, however you want to use your vocabulary, somehow spirit moved into that woman's house and saved her from something that devastated her entire country. And then she lived to tell a story. When these people show up, they're just like Connie. They're just like Catherine. They have been provided with an opportunity to meet this woman who has survived 2 World Wars and any kind of tragedy that you can't even really remember. She's a long time. It's a lot of story, a lot of living, and a lot of loving for this woman to be in the middle of who wouldn't want to save her and who wouldn't want to hold their best to the surface. And as Mark referenced, when these contractors come in and they do these great acts for this woman, they are, in return, opening themselves up to receive an even greater gift. Not just the gift of love, but also the gift of being rescued. Whatever it is, you never know when you're giving to someone, or when someone gives to you, how that's going to manifest and grow as well. That was one of the things that Catherine said to me as I sat there sobbing and floating in front of her like an idiot. How can I tell you thank you? How do I express gratitude for something of this that has done? And she said, you need to not take this personally. Get over it. Like, you have no idea. When somebody gives to you, they are opening their hand again. They're giving, and our hand is open now to receive 3 times as more as what they just gave to you. When you receive from someone with love, and they give it to you with love, they are creating a circumstance in their field and in their life where even more is going to be given to them, or they are attracting even more to them. And so when we look at ourselves with supply and demand, knowing that where there is a need, there really is a supply, there is this balance, that we can see that, as White Lily says, everything that happens to you is a part of your spiritual journey. And it's not our decision, what's good or what's bad. It's all meaningful and it's all worthwhile. As ugly as that sounds, we take our favorite moments and say, well, that was totally from God. That was in my spirit. People are really working with me today because all these wonderful things happen. But even car crashes can be life-changing in very powerful and beautiful ways, and even battlefields can reveal the most beautiful part of someone's soul, and their ability and willingness to put that out there. And so let's do wrapping up the laws of kindness and how I really expressed the way that works is, I just would like to remind us all that we need to not have judgment about our experiences, and to remind ourselves to look at the larger picture of things, and to accept what comes into our life as an opportunity, and not for spiritual growth, or to give more, or to love more, or to receive